Our next guest is a trainer who calls his organization No Other Choice, and he goes by the name of Kevin Dixie. He doesn't go by that name. That's his name. But he joins us live here today. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, doing good. So I got to ask, No Other Choice. Why is it called that?
No Other Choice stems from a philosophy of this. First of all, when it comes to training or firearms in general, before you use any skill set you obtain from concealed carry or advanced tactical running, before you use that against any human being, you should be at a point of no other choice. Every other option has been exhausted, and then it's just a good philosophy of life. Whether it's education, whether it's accomplishments, whatever your goals in life, hey, every morning your feet hit the floor, you got no other choice but to achieve them.
I am such a big proponent of this message. It's unreal. I remember I did a video once called it's called the "I Wish a Mofo Would," and you know, and it speaks to a mentality. I'm not gonna say it's pervasive, but it does exist by people who own guns and who don't own guns, of being too quick to think to go to the gun. So in your program, how do you go about teaching people to de-escalate tension in situations?
Well, the first thing we start with, I don't care if you're coming to take a concealed carry class, I don't care if we're working with children, the first thing we attack is the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's get your mindset prepped before we go through the next 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours to make sure that you understand everything you're going to learn is a last resort. Preparation is the only thing we don't use as a last resort. So like situational awareness, things like that. Yeah, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But anything that you learn here, make sure that you understand that this is an emergency pack. You don't break this out unless you absolutely have to. So start with the mindset. That way everything else you teach is absorbed and you don't have any problems going forward.
Absolutely. Now, with the people that you teach, what tends to be the most common question or the thing that they fail to understand the most with in your classes?
I like to say, to attack that, I like to say that self-defense is anything but common sense. So a lot of people, a lot of people believe, they give these scenarios like, hey, I was in this situation and somebody scared me,
Mm-hmm.
or they got too close, something where, your verbal judo, understanding, your personal space and things like that, or just walking away could prevail. But a lot of people believe, hey, if I get assaulted by somebody smacking me in the face or pushing me aggressively or something like that, then I can go to my firearm. And like, guys, that's not what we want to teach. We want you to understand that, hey, that's not the way to go. This is the last resort. So normally it's somebody hurt my feelings. What can I do about it? And we try to break them out of that.
Gotcha. So what was it that drove you to want to approach the idea of training from this perspective, from the de-escalation perspective? Because it's something that's rather unique. Not saying that other courses don't teach it, but that seems to be the kind of funnel hole that you start from. So what made you want to go in that direction?
Well, I started my career in firearms. I was working in the prisoner processing division of the St. Louis City Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
And so you saw a lot of bad parts of society, but then I saw a lot of good people that just made bad mistakes.
Gotcha.
And some, years and years of talking to them, and then you see these families on the other side of the glass trying to beat their way to dad or trying to beat their way to mom. So it kind of started there. So I wanted to tell people, hey, it's one thing for a guy to tell you he might have a friend or a buddy that went through this, but I'm telling you, I've seen thousands of people that I've had to deal with, that I've had to incarcerate, that unfortunately didn't use patience. They didn't exercise other gifts before they went to a firearm or some other form of violence. Guns don't always have to be the answer. And we just, from that, is just, hey, man, I want to break that cycle. I want to do what I can to make sure people understand responsibility. That's
awesome. That's an incredible perspective, and one that I know a lot of people probably didn't see coming. Because I think there is a misconception that everybody who goes through a situation like that, that they're horrible people, and then it's very easy to make mistakes, whether you have a gun or you don't have a gun. And so with that being the case, what for you is the most challenging component of your training program in terms of...
most challenging, man, to be honest with you, the most challenging thing now is not so much of the training, it's the getting the information out. So when I started this, it was all about behind the scenes training. Social media took off. I've been doing this about 16, 17 years now. Mm-hmm. Social media took off, and now I found myself in this space of I am caught between the best of two worlds, where I have my skin color on one hand, mm-hmm. and then I have the love for firearms and everything, freedom on the other hand, and blending them together. So now the complexity is I get challenged a lot with, hey, what are you doing to help either side? So now I'm kind of like a bridge. I use the training as a gap and the firearm as a way to draw people in to get them to understand that, hey, guys, we got gaps we need to close. We got information and we need to kind of get out there to everybody, make it an even playing field. So training is no longer the problem. It's more so of making people understand that, hey, in the training and everything else associated with it behind the scenes, we all have to be one team. So that's kind of my new challenge now.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how no matter how hard you try, no matter what aspect of the gun community you're in, the political, social issues will creep in there some shape, in some way. What typically tends to be the response, or do you get a certain response from people when they find out what you do?
If I don't tell you, people think I'm either the meanest guy because I've been told I can't say the words on TV, but I've been told I have RBF. I just found out what that was about a year ago. So either they think I'm a mean person or they think I'm the nicest guy in the world. And normally when you get to know me, everybody knows I'm the nicest guy to do anything for you. And sometimes it takes people a while to know that I'm into guns, but I'll bring it up. We'll find a way to get into it. And then they're like, oh, well, you're different. I'm like, well, how am I different? Well, you don't act tough. You don't act brash. You actually know how to talk to people. You get along with everybody. You're not a tough guy. And so normally it throws them off. But I kind of use it as a segue because I can't tell you how many anti-gunners I've turned around. Yeah. So it's always a positive conversation to have in the end.
You know what I find that's very interesting about their kind of perception of you? If you contrast that against the people who they've seen that is the opposite of what you are, they never really actually meet them in real life. It's the caricatures that they see on television or news shows and things of that nature. That's where they get their perception about people who own firearms or people who teach firearms, things of that nature. But then they meet someone face to face, someone like you, and then they tell you you're different. And it's like, no, I'm pretty normal. The image that you thought I was, that's different than what reality actually says. So, and I deal with that myself too, quite a bit. I usually kind of go inconspicuously about my way in life, but doing what I do, someone will know, and I have to engage in a conversation about firearms. How often does that conversation funnel into the idea of who you are from a racial standpoint? You being black. For me, it's inevitable. It always comes up as if there's some distinction there between, and I understand the kind of unique perspectives from each group of people, but for you, when you're engaging people and talking about and having these discussions, how much does the issue of race come up?
95% of the time. It comes up a lot. It's almost unavoidable, which is why I say I kind of got forced into the avenue I'm in now.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like it. I mean, I'll attack it head on. But I like to tell people one of the sayings that I have is intelligence is the proper application of knowledge. Yeah. So what we like to do is when people bring up things like race, that's my opportunity to say, well, how do you really feel about that? Maybe I can share some knowledge with you, or at minimum, prime your mind to want to go learn more. And so you can actually have open dialogue and conversations and things like that. So it comes up. Yeah. The sad part is, when you really, and I'm pretty sure you understand, when you really engage in it, well, I know you understand because you get attacked a lot for it, but when you engage in the conversations, either you're not enough because you should be a black man and you should be doing marching and yelling, or you're not enough this because you are a black guy and you'll never really understand. So luckily I'm surrounded by a bunch of good people and I can kind of rein things in, but I'm all about sharing information, so I'll just get out there. You bring it up, they bring it up all the time, so I'm just going to take it head on and deal with it. Absolutely.
We're out of time now, but before we go, just let people know where they can go and find you and where they can go if they want to take a class.
Oh, sure. You can catch me on Facebook at NOC, that's for No Other Choice, NOC Firearms Training. You can also look up Kevin Dixie on Facebook. You can also go to NOC Firearms Channel on YouTube and No Other Choice on Instagram.
Absolutely. Well, man, appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me about what you do. I appreciate it. I love the concept, and I wish you all the best going forward.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Absolutely, man. Time. Take it easy, man.
You too.
So that's going to do it today for Seeing Live. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern on NRATV. I'm Colion Noir, and I'm out.